Not.
I gotta come in here sometime and write notes on how to do this and type them up, so we have them.
Well, they're right over there, actually. So this should be going. Yes? No, I'm gonna do this. Gotta close this and then do,
I gotta come in here sometime and write notes on how to do this and type them up.
so that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Well, they're right over there, actually. So this should be going. Yes? No. There we go. All right. We're on.
Okay. Calling to order this is the Parks, Recreation and Harbor Advisory Committee meeting of May 8th, 2025. We'll go around the room with introductions. My name is Kim Boucher and I am the chair.
I am Debbie Jeanbro, the Assistant Director.
Karen McCarvey Anderson, committee member.
Yella Pelkey, Committee Member.
Tracy Willett, Director, Parks and Recreation.
Go. First up on the agenda is the approval of the April meeting minutes. Anyone has a copy? Does anyone have any changes, questions?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, well, since there's only a few of us, we'll call that approved. Next up is the bench naming and donation policy.
So we created a draft to chat little bit about tonight. At our last meeting, we talked about bench policy. To have a standard going forward. For requests to come through, have it managed like we do our event permit policy, et cetera. Currently, we don't have anything like that. So hopefully what we have done with this draft is captured the discussion we had last month. And if you could take a few minutes to make sure we have done that. It is formatted much like many of our other city policies are. Purpose, definitions, and then goes into, hi Rich, goes into process for applying some fees. Typical of our policies, there's an appeal process if a request is denied. Again, as a refresher, currently the process, we just did a couple Monday night. If someone wants to do some sort of bench memorial, we've had tree plantings before. We have treated those on an individual basis with the Government Operations Committee. This process and policy would essentially turn that management over to the Parks and Rec Department specifically, again, similar to what we do with event permitting and things like that. So if you could just kind of take a minute to kind of go through it, and from that, if there's something that we should add, if you have questions of it, again, we think we captured most of it, what we've had for discussion, for what it's worth and for context as you're doing that. There were 3-4 communities around the country we kind of drew examples from. And most of them include some sort of time certain as to how long the recognition can last, a fee schedule, et cetera.
You guys look at 2.6. I think there's a number missing, and I think it's 3 inches. Is that correct, Tracy?
That's probably correct. And Rich, did that give you enough background of why you're looking at what you're looking at today
Yeah.
as far, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
And while you're doing that, I mean, there's not an actual form to it. We wanted to get through this first. The form will be pretty straightforward and be somewhat analogous. We're thinking of, maybe thinking of. We have a couple of forms that are fairly basic information that have a space for itemizing particular items. The community service application that we use that has a description in it about the project. Our seasonal food vendor application has a place in it to describe what they're doing, so kind of formatting them in that way. And so that we can address fees through our online registration process.
I'm glad you captured the discussion about like a decommission process, so
Mhm.
that it would be a 10-year. And then they can decide to re-up for another 10 years with the bike.
The other thing that we did, and that's different than I think we've talked about thus far, called it a memorial recognition versus bench. So it allows for, yes, typically it's a bench, of different types. We've had trees planted before. A lot of communities do tables as well, permanent, picnic tables. So it certainly allows for anything, going forward.
This looks really good. I think it gives enough flexibility, but also it, shows that there's a few typical styles of these things that people can select from, so it kind of matches across the city.
Okay.
Any comments, questions?
No.
Is this something we have to approve or just?
So if I can take away from this, the next step would be to go to government operations with this, like we do with any policy. Part of the background for that committee would be that the Park and Recreation Advisory Committee reviewed this and recommended and move forward to the next step. So if that's the thumbs up I see around the table tonight, certainly can move forward with that. But again, starting it here, interestingly enough, it came up specifically on night about standard procedure. And I had the opportunity to reference that this committee was indeed doing this exercise, so they'll be looking for it when it comes back. But again, I want to make sure we capture the discussion we've had here. It sounds like we have, so appreciate that. We'll work on the form and presentation of it. Every place does something a little different, but the text of the policy is where we're at.
Perfect. We'll move on to organizational assessment updates.
So, Barry Dunn was here in town today. So recall, we've contracted with Barry Dunn to perform an organizational assessment of the Parks and Recreation operation. That includes this time, which we've often carved out. When I say often, the master plan, we did carve these two areas out, the waterfront and the golf course. This time we included the waterfront and the golf course because that's part of the Park and Rec operation. So to this point, they have done some quick benchmarking. They have talked to the division heads individually, and today they were here in town to talk to some of the other full-time staff, the recreation coordinator, childcare coordinator, golf course superintendent, and then one of our maintenance employees, been with Nick Fiore, who's been with us for quite a long time and crosses over several pieces of the operation. They spent the morning doing that, and today did a tour of several of the areas that fall under the Park and Recreation umbrella of operation. It has come to this, certainly with the transitioning of Mansfield Stadium specifically, is what kind of started the conversation about this. As we anticipate and go through the process of the feasibility of the new facility potentially coming down the road. Seeing how we're structured now, are there places that we could be more efficient? The staff that's with us now does a lot, and each one of them crosses over to several areas of the operation, and that's become quite apparent. So having an outside consultant assess kind of where we're at, how we operate, and areas that could change or improve going forward. So they were in town today, had a good tour. The next steps will be to compile the information. The other piece of the exercise that we're doing is there are trying to find like departments and like-sized communities. That's been a bit of a challenge, trying to identify those, but we found 2 or 3 that we will be getting some information from them to compare and kind of benchmark. So been a good process, good exercise. I think I've kind of thumbnailed it, but Deb's been part of the process as well. I don't know if Deb has anything to add to it, but want you all to know that it's, I think, somewhat unique in at least in Parks and Recreation world for a department to go through this exercise. But certainly operationally and how we're structured, could we do something a little different? If so, what would that be? What would that cost, et cetera, et cetera? And again, what started the conversation was transition of Mansfield Stadium. That's gone
What does
from-
that mean?
That means that for years, the city had an agreement with West Side Little League to manage the operation of Mansfield Stadium. And that was somewhat dictated by the gift that was made to the city to construct Mansfield Stadium. That has expired. And Little League has changed. It's no longer Bangor West, Bangor East, it is Bangor Little League. If you have ever gone to events at Mansfield Stadium, it is managed and the directed for years by two volunteers, Ron St. Pierre and Dave Mansfield. They're wanting to transition out of that. Ron still does the scheduling for us over there. The city's share of that, the city and Bangor West for years split cost of running that. So proceeds generated inside the stadium and for stadium activities such as concession, any gate fees for baseball games, anytime Little League was here at the national level, any reimbursements from Little League for the stadium activity. When the Maine Principal Association does events over there, they have paid for materials and reimbursed for materials. That is transitioning now to a city function. Monday night, we set up an account specifically for Mansfield Stadium to continue to make sure those proceeds stayed in the stadium. In the past, those proceeds have gone towards equipment, improvements to the stadium itself, most notably the seats that you see there in the middle were purchased through the proceeds that were generated inside the stadium. So that is now going to become more of a quote city function / park and rec function. As it stands right now, and has been since the beginning, the employees there are park and rec employees, paid by the park and rec department. The utility costs have always been paid by the city / park and rec department. So what's left to transition is the concession and any of the proceed activities such as concession gate and that kind of thing. And how we manage that currently. One of the gentlemen that's running the concession works for us at Sawyer Arena in the wintertime. So he's a park and rec employee. The person that does all the coordinates the on-field maintenance, retired fire captain, park and rec employee. So we're making it work right now. Thinking ahead, it really needs a dedicated manager over there. And so part of what Barry Dunn will assess is how that will fit into our current operation.
Is the city taking over Mansfield completely and not in the Little League?
Yes, so this is right now, it's a complete city operation. Little League, back when Little League, we had the agreement with West Side Little League, there was a management committee to it, advisory committee. The city has always been involved as far as paying staff, paying utilities. It is a city facility. And again, we had the management agreement with Little League. And much like a lot of these organizations, it's just the volunteers that they have are focused on the activity of the group, not managing a baseball stadium, which could accommodate any level of, high school, college, up through probably single A right now, baseball. So the concern was, structurally right now, we're not really structured to take that on and manage it. We're making it work, but down the road, it needs some sort of dedicated manager to make sure it gets managed properly.
And the other property or the other project that Barry Dunn is looking at is the Griffin Road?
Yeah, we have them on.
Yeah, okay.
So, and
So that's all wrapped up into the
It's
big
different.
vision.
It's different.
It's
Yes.
different.
It's two different feasibilities,
Um,
but
So the feasibility study Barry Dunn did for us we did a separate RFP for the organizational assessment. Barry Dunn came in with the best proposal
Right.
and lowest bid amount, so we were able to contract with them. It all made sense because of the
Yeah.
feasibility study they were already doing for us. Their staff that's working on the organizational assessment is the same staff, some of the same staff that was working on the feasibility study for us. So their familiarity with our operation already was hugely beneficial.
Yeah, I guess I was just asking as far as they're looking at feasibility, they're gonna count heads and square footage and all the stuff that they're gonna need for
So
that.
we'll get to that on the special committee. Yeah, did we do a special committee tonight? I can certainly, I didn't know if we talked about that yet, but.
But
the
if you're
answer-
looking at number of people that you need in your department
Yes,
and how to
yes.
run things, that new facility is gonna put
Yes,
a
yeah,
lot of pressure, and that's gonna have to be looked at too, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
right now, like, the feasibility of the department
Yes,
is not including that
What-
sector.
might
Yeah,
need
that's
to be
separate.
Yeah,
happening
that's
with that,
totally, it
okay,
doesn't count
Alright.
that, that's just how we're operating right now.
okay, gotcha,
And then the other one is for just the center, it won't
Just that.
include,
okay.
you know, all the
Gotcha.
other stuff.
Is it a hybrid both, meaning there's an assessment now to make some changes for the better, but also looking for the future if and when that happens and how to like have a runway for that?
yeah, kind of,
That's
kind of, yeah.
Or is a whole nother one gonna have to take place when you?
No, that
Oh,
was,
shut down this and add this and.
no, it was part of what, I mean, your analogy of the runway is a right example. I mean, and kind of what we just talked about, so. And it came up when we awarded the organizational assessment to Barry Dunn amongst the council, is that this is the time to do this. Because yes, the feasibility study for the new facility will include within it staffing needs for that building. We're not structured right now to do that.
Correct.
And in order to do the building, how does that fit into what we already do? So yeah, time was right. Time was right.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a good exercise for us to go, I know the staff has had some good conversations with Barry Dunn. And we're fortunate, the crew is very good about articulating what they do, understanding the bigger picture of the entire operation outside of their own particular areas. No, it was a good conversation. It's been a good exercise. It'll be a tool for us and a document for us that's been put together by a set of outside eyes on what we do. The tour today with them was enlightening in of itself,
Mhm.
enlightening in of itself, so.
And we've had, like Tracy was saying, some of our full-time staff work in a lot of different departments, and we just hired a new program coordinator that you guys met in like January. She started with us at the pool, and then she went to maintenance, and then she was the pool supervisor, went back to maintenance, and now is a full-time, and now she's our program coordinator. So the meeting with her, she has all aspects of the whole department. She's worked at Sawyer. So she's done it all. So it's really interesting, you know, what our staff know about the whole department.
And what's the timeline for when they're gonna present their final report?
So we'd like to have them done by the end of June. So from today, the benchmarking with like-sized departments and communities. They are also they have the organizational chart. They worked through that today as we were touring. The job descriptions of the various jobs in the department. So they're gonna take what they learned today and start to work through that. And we'll meet with them on the org assessment. Here probably in a couple of weeks. Well, it's been a good exercise and they're a good group to work with. And what's good about Barry Dunn, the team, all of them, but Elsa in particular, came from she was a Parks and Recreation Director for Park District in Illinois for a number of years. So she knows, she's familiar with the operations of this.
While we're on the topic, I know it's not on the agenda, can you give us an update on the feasibility for I know.
Absolutely. So if, I think you all are aware, it was a special committee convened by council to review the feasibility study, make any changes or updates, incorporate anything knew the need to be and provide a report and recommendation back to council by July 10th. So they just had a meeting today. One of the, probably the biggest changes that they have agreed is important and should be added is a fitness component to the building. So we've put Barry Dunn and their team back on the hook for the feasibility piece of it. More or less as a continuation of their original contract with us. So Barry Dunn and their architect CHA has been working on feedback they have received from the committee. Today, we presented the committee an updated concept with the fitness and the additional square footage that would produce. So that will also, from that, change or update the square footage costs to construct this. We're still, Griffin Road is still the location. We went through that process a couple of times. We've gone through the process of the need here based on the feedback we got from the engagement and the parallel nature and the fact that both facilities, meaning this project and the Y project, will be parallel and serve the entire community together and won't necessarily be in conflict with one or the other. Everybody agreed to that today's discussion. So the next steps for the committee will be to start to work through and finalize their report with a recommendation back to council to have it by July 10th. The July 10th date, if you backtrack from November, will fit the timeline if indeed it becomes a ballot question in November, the timing to put that on, if that makes sense. The agreement, and you can, the meetings we live stream, so those meetings are on the city's YouTube channel. All 3 of them thus far. It's been very good discussion. The recognition around that table is it's time. We need to do this, and what's the best way to move it forward?
What's the price range that they're thinking?
That's what we gotta figure out. So it's a little bit different than what the feasibility study, yeah, I know he's like.
Well, I know the fitness is probably the
Well-
heavy square foot.
So, and the square footage estimates that initially came out of it were a little low. So those are gonna increase, so that will, and the adding of the fitness. Overall, the square footage costs are gonna increase because those have changed. Construction, especially in this part of the state, has changed. So they're working on updating that. There's some concern about the soils over there, so we're gonna get a couple of tests done for that. We do have some background information from when the fire station was built over there. So generally, the soils will be favorable over there. It's a good cross-section of individuals with background on the committee. So yeah, there's gonna be some changes. What this committee will do is ensure that they have the best information, most current information, because if indeed this goes to November, it's essentially gonna be one chance at it. So we wanna make sure we do it correctly. And have the best information to put forward.
What was that, your timeline, feasibility and progression to?
That'd be the next progressive step, yes.
It's coming November?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the reason why we don't have costs right now, because like today's meeting, we needed the group to say, yay, let's do that fitness component the way it looks. Okay, now they say, yay, let's go to the next step. We don't want to jump to a step and then they not agree on something. So there's just steps that we have to go.
There's not a figure, like, we're doing this for,
Not yet,
Not
Not yet.
not at all.
Not yet,
not right.
not yet.
And
There
before
will
we
be.
say that, we wanna make sure it's accurate, so.
Is it laid out in a way and designed in a way that if we need to reel things back in to get it through, knowing that it's designed in a way that can further facilitate future expansion of these other things? I mean, I'm not to get into the weeds here, but.
No, for sure, no, I'm glad you all are, so.
Cause I mean, the goal is to get it done.
The
Right.
If you add
concept,
too much, can you peel the onion, a little bit?
so the concept of the building is it's all connected, so it's one big building, and I can share.
I have it. I do have it, but it's okay.
So you have the 11 by 17 layout,
I have yeah, I do have 11 by 17 layout.
So it's gonna be difficult to phase it as it's. And that will be it really, and that's the discussion we'll have we're gonna meet with them again tomorrow. Cause that has been asked other places. Because of how the building was designed to be the most efficient possible
Mhm.
and most cost effective possible. It's all one connected building. And specifically, locker spaces, you know, you go ahead, locker spaces are shared between the arena and the gymnasium, for example. The multi-generational spaces are situated around the rest of it in such a way that it shares many of the spaces. One common entrance for the entire facility. The maintenance building is separate. The challenge is if indeed that's a phased structure, does maintenance stay where it is? And recall, part of the discussion we had with the school department and school committee was bringing their school maintenance with us. Meaning Parks and Rec, and put school maintenance
Mhm.
and Park and Rec
So
maintenance.
to Rich's point, if we're looking at this, we can't say, all right, we can't afford it, let's just do one hockey arena. Or one hockey sheet or whatever. Not the
So,
way that not the vision that we have right
yeah,
now.
and
Yeah.
and the engagement came back 2 sheets. So if there's anything to that point. That's a discussion we'll have to have with
It's a
the
bigger
consultant.
discussion more than, yeah.
If indeed, that
We're
would
gonna
probably
lose
be the
what
one
we're
piece
intending to provide.
that would be
then-
phased.
Then we have a bigger.
But what
Is it-
their second phase is the outdoor part right now. Is their second phase would be the outdoor space, which is soccer fields and all of this tennis courts and stuff. That could be done in the future.
Yep.
You know,
I was just thinking like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, there might be more accommodation for space or other aspects if it's engineered that way, like.
No, I get
Real
what you're
back
asking.
now, but being in
Yeah.
an opportunity to
No,
get
you're
what
right.
you want
Yeah,
later
for
on.
sure.
So fitness is gonna increase this footprint right here that we're looking
it
at.
already did, it's right there. They just increased, this would be the fitness and then,
Eight
and
and
then
six.
8 moved over.
Oh, okay.
No, just 6.
Oh, just 6, okay. Thank you.
As I said, the blocks were situated in such a way, and we, in simplest forms, that's what they all are, they're all blocks.
Mhm.
In a way that create the most efficient. Use of whatever resource we use to finance it, to get it done. And the full. Feasibility study now we have posted on our Parks and Rec website, so you can look through the engagement we shared with them today was pretty strong that it's 2 sheets.
I'm sure the short-term goal is to reduce this cost as.
Oh, for
least
sure.
Possible
Oh, for
trumps the,
Yeah, for sure, it's,
future possibility of expansion, so.
and back to what the original question, that's part of what the special committee's function is. We talked about phasing, but at the end of the day, it makes better sense to do this, so that's all gonna be part of their discussion.
Nice.
Because that's already come up, that's already come
But
up.
they don't have a price tag, so they don't,
No, they will have a price tag.
they will, but they don't, right now they don't. They
And,
don't
and
know policy
ultimately,
costs. Yeah.
recall that ultimately, whatever report they submit, it's ultimately gonna be up to council. And I point up there, maybe we'll be in the new city hall by then. That'd be their decision what to do next with it. And that's the ultimate charge of the committee, provide a recommendation report back to council.
It's exciting.
It is exciting, it is exciting, I mean, it's been a long time, about talking about it, and candidly, both buildings. It's borrowed time,
Mhm.
it's borrowed time. Sawyer Arena, a bit worse, we thought we had the leaning boards figured out. They leaned again. And we're not sure if it's because we put the ice in sooner than we ever have. Because of the work we had done on the mat. So by doing that, did that accelerate the timeline, the freezing process down below? Which heaves the boards, which leans them? Don't know. The only true way to really figure it out is to dig the whole thing up, and we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're kind of at a point at Sawyer where, we just gotta go as long as we can go. The Armory, Parks and Rec Center, hopefully we get approved to replace the boiler. It's leaking now. And to replace another chamber in it.
we had a huge water line break when something happened a couple weeks ago, when Farm Road got shut down because a line broke, and then when they turned the water back on.
The
And we
backflow
had
failed,
water,
yeah.
our whole basement was this much water, and it was like a fire hose just running, and luckily, it was only running for like an hour before we noticed it.
A little more bubble gum and duct tape.
Yeah.
One more Band-Aid.
We could limit all that. It's the childcare, everyday childcare issues. I mean, anytime, and Deb knows this every day, anytime there's any sort of issue, there's no place to deal with that except right in common areas. And it's just not a great scenario, and they do great with it, and walking through with Barry Dunn today. Okay, this room is for this group, this room is for this group, we get down in the basement, this group is this group, and they're all over the building, they're all over the building. And it has worked great for us, but yeah, it's time, the building's getting worn out, the building's getting worn out.
And when there's no water and there's no restrooms, we pray, can you get it on by 3?
Yes.
It's coming on at 3:30, we need restrooms, we need water.
So that's what they're doing, it is exciting, it's been great conversation, it's been encouraging conversation. When the time comes, to have that community discussion about what's next, and this could be real. It would be a real asset to the community for years to come, years to come.
It's definitely a family spot. That's what we talked about today. You know, their son could be ice skating while grandma's walking around the track and dad is working out, and then the other, you know, playing basketball. You know, there's so many opportunities in a space like this.
Okay. Move on. I'm guessing because Rob is not here, we are not having a golf course.
So what I can tell you, he had a meeting, actually, what was tonight, it was a league of, a meeting of some kind, but I can tell you. No, we don't have carts out yet.
Mhm.
No. However, I was just up there today with, the parking lot was half, 3/4 full, we're getting rounds played. When the weather is good, they are crushing it up there. 150, 200 rounds a day when the weather's good up there. Yeah, and that's all walking, that's all walking. Verdi's has opened. My understanding, the Derby Day they did up there last weekend went fantastic.
If you don't know what that is, it's the little restaurant that's attached to the golf course, just in case someone
Yep,
doesn't know.
Yeah, the second season with those folks, they've been great up there. They retooled their menu a little bit, so they've changed that. The beekeeper has a third hive now, is gonna have a third hive. That'd be Rob. The bees did really well, and if you follow that kind of stuff at all, and I'll say this, and he'll hear, I'll hear about it, he's become kind of a bee nerd now. Yeah. Bees apparently across the country are getting, if they're not scarce, they're not as plentiful as they typically are. So he lucked out in finding another round of bees to start another hive. Our bees survived the season, the winter, quite well. And I'm sure you've seen the videos he's posted, so it's just weather now, it's just weather, getting carts out. But again, even walking, people are going out, course came out of the winter great. Greens, everything looks good. The Audubon certification, they're working through now, yet again. So yeah, no, it's going well up there. The memberships, I think you shared, we sold out quickly. We had a line starting at 5 o'clock in the morning up there for those, so. It's a busy place now. We're bringing people on slowly to get going, and again, when it dries out a little bit, we can get carts out there. We'll try to get carts out there.
The driving range is still not open, I don't think, or maybe hopefully soon, but
Yeah, I don't
I've
think
gone
you-
down to try to
Yeah,
get the driving range.
It's usually the later thing to go because they can't pick the balls.
yeah, that's exactly.
Because
It.
it's so wet, that's
Yeah.
worse, than, you know, actually
Yeah.
doing cart path only around the golf
Yeah.
course, trying to pick that range is
Is,
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
kind of a
no,
bog.
you're right, it's kind of the last one. The net, you'll see, and yeah, the net will go up. Our city electrical department helped us with that, and Public Works helped us with that. So that should help a little bit down at that end. Other than that, just hoping it dries out a little bit.
I was there a couple weeks ago. We had one of the first warm days and cars were definitely not gonna be out, but they said they had 215 rounds.
Yeah,
And I think this was on a Thursday
Yeah.
night when I was coming in there. It was just nice weather, but everybody was walking.
everybody was out.
And they had 215.
Yeah, no, that's a huge number for, all walking on a weeknight.
Mhm.
That's a huge
In
number
April.
in April.
Yes.
So it's, busy season up there. Busy season.
All right, last update is programming update.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as you guys know, in April, April 19th, we had our annual New Race 58th annual, actually. Numbers were, pretty consistent with the last 10, 15 years. We had 734 racers, over 350 crafts. That day, everybody was so excited because there's been rainy new races for years and years and stuff like that. But, because the forecast was, 70 degrees, but that didn't work. It didn't go past Waterville. So it rained here all day, that day, but it was great. We had about 50, safety personnel along the whole stream, which consisted of so many different search and rescue and whitewater rafting companies and stuff like that. I thank them so much for, spending their day with us. Also people like, our police department, our public works department, our parks and rec department, our fire department, everybody gets involved in this race. There's nobody that doesn't. So it's just a great event. Our Mother's Day dance happened last Friday. Our numbers were a little down. We had 200 people. It was held at the Cross Insurance Center. It's a little down from last year. Not sure why, no big deal. We'll just advertise more for next year. So as for, you see our brochure that we have here, we just got that out to the schools. That's just some of our programs going on. One of the programs is not in here that's new for this year. We partnered with Eastern Maine Community College and we're doing culinary camp. It's a contracted out program with the culinary camp. It's not in there. And the reason why it's not in there, within 2 hours of putting that on, doing an email blast, it was 75% full and it's totally full with a huge waiting list right now. It's a great new program that's came to us, and that's with our partnership with Eastern Maine Community College, because as you know, last year we used them for our mega camp, for our summer camp, and this year Mega is going back to Mary Snow, and so we're using their college for our teen camp location. So 3 days a week, that's going to be their hub, even though teen camp travels all over. Couple of our other programs that we have going, just to kind of give you and just, and also give people out there if they're watching this. We do a chess camp every year. It's in there, I think it's in July. That's 75% full, but we still have some seats left if people want to play chess and learn how to play chess. One thing that we just started today, it's not brand new, but kind of brand new. We have line dancing that goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we started a new program today, absolute beginner line dancing.
Not me.
It's great. 16 people registered in that small little room. We can't take many more, but in the Kenduskeag room. And we were absolutely shocked. Absolute beginner. I attracted some people. It's wonderful. Some of our camps this summer, like I said, our teen camp is absolutely full, except 1 week in July has 2 spots. That's it, but it is full, which is amazing. Teen camp's a little different because we use vans, which we don't have at the moment. So if anybody has suggestions on where we can rent 2 vans, that would be great.
You don't do van rentals, do you, as well?
Nope.
Yeah, let's get our brains going. Anybody that has 2 vans out there for us to rent this summer would be great. So, yeah, those are full except 2 spots for 1 week for our teen camp. And that camp's very popular. It is only 3 days a week, but they travel throughout the state. There's one day that's more local around the Bangor area. They go to pools, they go to a beach, they go play, Frisbee golf, stuff like that. And then a second day, they traveled not too far, within 45 minutes from here, going to different places. And then the other day a week, they travel. There's not as much going on in the Bangor area, so they go to Portland almost all the time. And, you know, Funtown Splashdown and Aquabog, and then there's some really neat trips this year that are a little different. And that's very exciting, maybe that's why it filled up so quickly. And those are all on our website. We have, as I told you guys before, we have 4 other camps, Munchkin, Mini, Monster, and Mega. We got the schools that we originally had since the beginning of these camps. There's been a lot of construction on these schools, and now that's over in them. So we're back to Munchkin. Well, Munchkin is at our Parks Rec Center in our basement. Our mini camp is back to 14th Street School. We still have plenty of room in that one. Our Monster camp is at Fairmount School. And the reason why we like those 2 schools is because they can walk to the pool. And our Mega camp is back to Mary Snow School, and they can actually walk to Dakin Pool anytime they want, well, in the afternoon, but then we also bus them to Panko, you know, occasionally. We're still having pickleball right now, but that is going outside soon. So that ends May 19th indoors for us. Some of our adult programs for this summer, our Zumba is open to people to register for a pool. We have a social adult tennis league, which is very popular in the summer. So it's a league that it's fun. It fills up every year with, you know, people that just want to socially play with others. Our adult softball, that starts next week. I don't know if any of you guys play on our teams, any of you? We have 38 teams in adult softball.
Wow.
So it's definitely a challenge for our program coordinator to, you know, Union Street Complex has 3 softball fields. We also host some of our Bangor teams, John Bapp's teams, so working around everybody to get those games in, and we use our fields. They're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 fields, 3 times a night to try to get all these teams in. It's a huge.
I will share with you statewide, that's rare now. Adult softball and generally adult activities tend to be trending downward leagues. So to have that many teams is unique now.
Yeah, I talked to South Portland the other day and they were just like, oh, it's just a headache. We had 4 teams last year. We're not doing it this year. 38, you know. My son plays in a Portland league, you know, they have to do their own maintenance on the field. It's very not organized. This is very unique. It's, I think that's why people come from all over. We have people from Machias that come to some of our, that plays.
That's Union Street, right?
Yeah, Union Street Complex, yep.
How does it work when you do a Mother's Day dance at
Yes.
the
Cross.
Cross Insurance Center?
Yeah.
What's the reciprocal experience? I mean, is that a rental or is that, do you get so many?
We
I
have a
don't know.
contract with them.
Yeah,
We rent it from them.
okay,
And they have to provide the food, so we buy the food from them. We
Right.
just give them a number,
Mhm.
like maybe 4 days before about how many we're gonna have, and it costs so much per person.
Yeah.
And then there's an overall rental fee, and then we pay for their staff, and then we get
Just a
invoiced
general
back.
rental.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. They're very good and they work with us and they ask us early, and we've already scheduled our Halloween dance for next year. So they call us and say, hey, things are coming on the board. When do you want yours? So they're very good to work with.
Did we paint the lines on that other court we talked about last
We
time?
haven't yet, but we
Okay.
will. Yeah, we will.
And it's Hayford that does the tennis you were talking about?
It's the social tennis league, some of it's at the high school now,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
because of the new high school courts.
Yeah.
So, and then lastly, our pools are, we got a phone call today, are we open? So it's starting. No, we are not open. It is 30 degrees at night. We don't have water and we don't hire staff. Well, we're trying to hire staff now, but that opens up at the end of June. We are looking for, we have a lot of openings for lifeguards and a lot for our summer camp counselors. So if you guys know anybody that's looking for a job this summer, we have 8 returning guards. We've already hired 4 new ones, but they have to pass their certification in order for them to get hired. So that's 12. We're looking for probably 14 more at the pool. And our summer camp, we're looking for maybe 12 more counselors or some.
What are the age requirements for those? again?
For the pools, they need to, well, for pools, to get your certification, you have to be 16, because they will not let you take the certification until you're 16. But we actually have 3 positions of pool aides. And so that starts, we can get the work permits at 14, 15, for pool aides.
Who's doing the certification now for lifeguards? Is it something that, there's one locally that you send a lot to, or are they just kind of responsible for it, figuring it out on their own?
We give them a list, we work with the Y.
Okay.
And the Y gives us all their dates, we work with Husson, we call Husson, and they're like, they will do a class just for us. And it's so we try to get as many as we can, and then we put a date out there for that. We call Laurel Plate, we just put their dates on this flyer, you guys choose whichever one, but they do have to sign up themselves, except for the Huston one.
But there's plenty of opportunity for
Yes.
them to get that certification.
Yes.
That's nice.
And then we reimburse. They have to pay for it. If they pass and they work for
Gotcha.
us, we reimburse.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what's going on right now. Right, any questions?
How much does it cost to get certified in lifeguarding now?
Right now the Y is $365. And it is it's a Friday night from 5 to 9. So start all over. Before you actually do that, there's an 8-hour online course that you have to do. Friday nights, like at 5 to 9, and that's more of, should you even be doing this? Like they get into law, it's kind of like a to see if they're even.
Kind of the PT test.
Yeah. And then if they're good, they spend it Saturday 10 hours and Sunday 10 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is for all certifications, so basically the same, because it's all the Red Cross certification that all has their parameters. Yeah,
It's intense.
it is intense, but you got a job.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get certified.
Important.
Yeah,
That they know what they're doing.
yeah.
Okay, well, if that's all, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
A move.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Next meeting date?
Next